Many thanks for tuning in to Pillar TV. My name is NJOROGE Kaburo, and this is your favorite show, The Spotlight, where we are more bold, more incisive, and more candid. Today we are looking at the stories making the headlines. And top on the stories, we look at the U.S. President Donald J. Trump fires U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson days after bilateral talks in Nairobi. What that means regarding U.S. foreign policy, rather. And also top on the story will be the popular handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Right Honorable Raila Odinga that happened at Harambee House, and whether this is going to end the underlying ethnic tension in the country. Also the developing story of Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who also wants to be engaged in talks with His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. To help me delve deeper on these issues, and amongst others, is none other than our very own political analyst, Mr. Julius Mushono, who is here with us to help us discuss that. Karibu sana, Mr. Julius.
Thank you very much.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Umepotea sana.
Niko area.
Karibu sana. Now, I want us to kick off this conversation by, the firing of the U.S. states, the firing of, by Donald J. Trump firing Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. And given that Tillerson has been at odds with the White House, what does this mean concerning the U.S. foreign policy?
I want first of all to discuss about the employment relationship.
Yes.
It is the employer who gives the initiative on what to be done. And where there is a conflict of interest between the employer and the employee, you realize the employer takes the initiative and takes the decision. Tillerson here, he had to follow the instructions of this person called Donald Trump, which he didn't. He was on a foreign mission to Africa, and particularly in Kenya. You realize when he realized things are tough, he changed everything here in Kenya and said now he's sick and we are not going to continue with the missions. What I see is this Secretary of State was not keen enough to follow in the instructions of Donald Trump. Number two, there was a problem of communication. You heard him clearly say that when the foreign policy changes, it was not communicated to him. And therefore, since it was not communicated to him, he executed the policy that he was aware of, which now conflicted with what Donald Trump wanted to be done. And there was no alternative.
So it's a matter of communication breakdown.
I saw there was some communication problem. And also on the part of Tillerson, he was stubborn. He was not able to come and talk to this guy and ask him now, Mr. President, there is a change of policy now, which is the new policy. And therefore, that we could have integrated this issue and we could have been able to work with the president.
Sure. Let's now come back to the country. And we saw Tillerson visit the country and engaged President Uhuru Kenyatta in bilateral talks. But also something interesting that happened within Harambee House is the popular handshake that, brought to an end the ethnic tension and the animosity between the two antagonist leaders. Do you feel like maybe US or Rex Tillerson was involved in the whole issue?
For me, no. The person who was keen in this game is the US ambassador, Godef. He has been seriously talking to Odinga on issues of having dialogue with the president. But when I look at the handshake, quite a number of issues come over. Raila, you remember, is the president of the People's Assembly President.
Yes.
And the other one is the legitimate elected president of the Republic of Kenya. How easily can Raila just agree to join Jubilee and work with the government?
This raising eyebrows amongst many quarters.
Many quarters. What triggered him? I saw quite a number of factors. One, he has an MOU with NASA.
With the NASA.
That in 2022, neither him or any member of ODM will vie as a presidential candidate. He may want to run away from that and come and enter into another agreement that will supersede that agreement so that he can be able to vie in 2022.
Now, even before we go to 2022, the Uhuru-Raila truce, what does it mean to the country's socio-economic and political ramifications?
one of the major issues that is going to happen to Uhuru Kenyatta, he will be able easily and properly execute his 4 agendas. Because this person called Raila Odinga will not give him a problem. And it was easier for him, that is the president, to promise Raila many things because he also wants to leave a legacy. So our country will move. They will be hearing that ethnicity, that major division, sharp divisions between the Ruos and the Kikuyus, between other tribes will come to an end. But I don't find this forthcoming for a while because people are still strategizing and positioning themselves for future. So what we are likely to have is we are going to have silent, very many cans on the ground being prayed under the carpet as ambassadors asinjatoka. Kama sasa as we see, we don't know exactly what was discussed between our president and Raila. We were only given an overview.
Some think that this was just a gentleman's agreement. It's not a political pact. But do we, if we look at the whole the bigger picture, are we seeing, you know, politics of 2022 starting to take shape?
Allow me to say this.
Yes.
If what Uhuru and Raila are doing is honest, it is going to do a lot of good to this country.
Yes.
It's going to bring a whole lot of healing. But still, it has a bearing on 2022 elections.
Yeah.
But alongside with the 2022 elections, we have what will make Raila relevant between 2018 and 2022.
Yes.
What will Raila be eating between 2018 and 2022?
He will be on the cold.
Yeah, Raila will be on the cold.
Yes.
Also at the same time, I'm asking myself, Raila has always wanted to be relevant. He has realized he cannot be relevant with Kalonzo Musyoka, with Musalia Mudavadi, and with Wetangula.
So do you maybe share the same sentiments with those people who read mischief in Raila's entry into the government? And are we likely to see a repeat of what happened in that was in 1997 when LDP joined KANU? Are we likely to see a repeat of that?
No, we are not likely to have that repeat because what is there is they have not said the office they are creating for Raila.
Yeah.
And now, looking at the government structures, I don't see where this person comes in. It is going to be just an informal arrangement.
Yeah.
You realize in 2007, we had the position of the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm wondering is, are we going to change the constitution to provide a position for Raila?
There's someone who has...
No. Right now, before we do that,
there are calls for that already.
What will Raila be doing? So if there are calls to change the constitution to introduce the position of the Prime Minister, what role will you play? So what I'm reading here is a mischief. Let me rewind back.
Yeah.
During 2013, you realize Ruto and Uhuru called Musalia Mudavadi, and they floated him as a presidential candidate because they were going to Hague. What happened to him? Don't you think it is also likely to happen to Raila? Yeah. He has been called in. But when that time comes to make serious decision on 2022, Raila will not be there in the picture of Uhuru and Ruto.
Mr. Mushono, are you saying that maybe come 2022, the candidature of one deputy president, William Samoei Ruto, is at jeopardy?
No. Ruto is intact.
Yes.
Ruto is not those kind of people who would sit down and watch his position being jeopardized.
Yes.
Sit down. He's a very strategic young man.
Yeah.
And I realized that they work very closely with Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't believe that there is anything that Uhuru Kenyatta is doing, Ruto is not aware. I concluded this because of the appointments that were made recently. Did you realize?
PSs?
The PSs, all of them were from there. Did you see that?
Yeah.
What is informing this?
Ruto says siasa ni kujipanga.
Sindio, mambo ni kujipanga.
He says this what he's doing.
And you realize that he's silent in this game and he's speaking sparingly. So it is an issue they have discussed seriously with the president. You realize, if you hear Jubilee MPs even from Mount Kenya, from the other places, all of them are behind Ruto. Yeah. Regardless of what is happening between the president and
we also see Mr. Ruto or His Excellency Ruto engaged more in political meetings. Recently, he had a meeting with the Meru region leaders. Then he also maybe in the course of that week had a meeting with women MPs. Is Ruto not, working hand in hand with the president? Because we see the president working on diplomatic issues. He's away in Cuba, but Ruto is now engaged back in the country in politics.
We have division of labor and specialization.
Yes. This is what is being employed here.
This is what is being employed here.
Yes.
These people have taken a very serious strategy in making sure that the country runs. If you look at Ruto, he's so much on implementation of the agenda. He's telling people, stop talking about 2022. Let us first of all work for Mwananchi. He's looking and displaying that figure of, I am working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's an adage, an old story told about the camel who, asked the owner of a manyata to enter the head within the manyata to cover its head against the scorching sun. Then it finally destroyed the entire manyata. Are we likely to see, maybe if Raila gets into the government, are we likely to see him distort operations within Jubilee administration?
Not really. You realize what happened when Raila went to swear himself in. Uhuru was very rough on his supporters, to a point that this gentleman, Raila, realized that there's no game here. It's serious business. So Raila, even Uhuru, don't underestimate him. He's a very bright young man, very bright. So he's bringing in closer Raila, so that this gentleman can be able to leave a legacy. Because he knows if Raila is on the other side, he will not be able to make it, because Raila is very good in destructive missions. And you know that he needs him to meet his four agendas and leave a legacy. So I don't find Raila disrupting the government, because actually he has no direct involvement in the instruments of
the instruments of power. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka is also pushing for talks amongst the other core principals, that is Wetangula and Mudavadi. Sit down and talk with His Excellency Uhuru in what he calls all-inclusive kind of a dialogue. Where does this leave the country in terms of having an alternative voice? Do we still have an opposition which can put the government on toes?
It is likely to weaken the opposition. But if I were to be asked on my own view, the first person who would have come to the government, to work with the government, was Kalonzo Musyoka. The government trying to woo him, but due to the infections of Railaism, he could not. I'm looking at the Kalonzo Musyoka that I grew knowing, a serious gentleman who talked sense, was very constructive.
He used to stand on his ground?
He used to stand on his ground. He used to make things run very well with President Moi. He also worked very well with President Kenyatta. He started speaking recklessly. And nikaona kuna deficit of making decision from the time he was being infected by the Railaism syndrome. And right now, I would ask him to come into his senses and to be able to be in the government. You can see now the Kambas and the Kikuyus have rhymed very well from time immemorial. And I don't know where Kalonzo came to think that being in the opposition with Raila Amolo Odinga, he can make it. I want to bring in another first person who has kept quiet. Where is Joho? He was very vocal.
Been muzzled.
He has been muzzled. You know, most of the MPs and these core principles, their main agenda was to attack the president. Now, whom will you attack?
The general has surrendered.
The general has surrendered.
But still we expect Miguna to be back in the country, and he's not happy with Raila Odinga.
Even if
how will this play out?
Miguna to me is not a serious gentleman. He's very unstable in his decisions, and he's not sure of exactly what he wants. You remember there's a time he fought Raila left, right, bottom up. And then all of a sudden he became his general for the people's. For the People's Assembly.
Then NRM.
Then the NRM. I don't understand him. You see, when he's in US, he is mixed, whether to be in the government or to support what has happened. He's there. So we cannot even find he is going to have any impact when he comes back.
Now, we're going to delve much deeper into the issues of the accommodation of NASA leaders within government. There are those who are calling for constitutional amendments. Do we have really structures to accommodate NASA core principles and the entire opposition, as so to speak? So I want us to go on a short break, then come back, talk about that in a short while. We'll keep it Pillar TV. My name is Njoroge, and we are with Julius Munene Mushono, our very own political analyst and research scholar, delving on matters making the headlines. We'll be right back after a short commercial break. And welcome back to Spotlight. Today, my guest is Mr. Julius Mushono, and we are talking about the top stories making headlines. Mr. Julius, suspension of the People's Assembly. Well, it could mean a lot, but what does it mean to people like Miguna, the people like David D, who have been pushing for electoral reforms? What does it really mean for those guys?
What I want to say is, before I come to the impact of those people, those guys are strategists. Like D is a strategist of the NASA.
Yes.
And is the person who announced that there's a suspension of the People's Assembly.
Yeah.
On what terms? In normal circumstances, this is a strategist who is supposed to be silent in the back office, doing strategies and then sending it over to the people to communicate. The people who are supposed to communicate are the like of Orengo, the like of Mudhama.
Yeah.
They're the people who are supposed to communicate that now we have suspended the People's Assembly. So you realize there is a lot of confusion in NASA. We are not sure of exactly what is happening. So to me, this is not an issue of NASA. This is an issue of ODM.
Could we say
for D, he might, from now here, whom will we work for? The president said that they are going to appoint a committee that is going to look at the assumptions of office and establishment of the office of the official opposition leader.
Yeah.
When you look at it, it's so informal because in parliament we have an official opposition leader.
Sure.
We also have a minority opposition leader
recognized
by the Constitution. And now here we have another office that is being created constitutionally. Where is this office? Yeah. So I tend to think that these people, surely they do not have a position. It's the same position they were holding. And since there is no NASA, so there are no those positions.
Are you saying that there is no NASA?
For me, there is no NASA. There is no resistance now.
What crosses your mind when John Buddy, the chairman of ODM, says that that ODM will support the agenda 4, the action plan by President Uhuru?
That is very desirable. It is good. But on what platform? Are they going to support them as opposition or as members of government? Because we need people to oversight and to oversee what is happening and to check the government. If we have a weak opposition, we are going to have a very bad governance. And it's good to have Bandi being strong the way he was and be able to check the government. Yeah. So our devices, the office is being created. They create a serious office that is going to check the government.
Mr. Julius, speaking of creation of office, there are calls to have constitutional amendments to pave a position of the Prime Minister. Are we maybe going to the grand coalition way? What is your take?
Yeah, it seems that we are going to a grand coalition. But if the constitution is changed, there is no alternative. We are going to have Raila being accommodated as
the Prime Minister.
As the Prime Minister or the co-principal, whichever name will be given. So you realize there will be consultation between now the President and the President. That is between Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, where will Ruto be left is my question. Where will be Ruto is my question. Because now, we are not going to have the position of a serious deputy president because the game here will be between...
You'll be overshadowed by the Prime Minister.
By the Prime Minister. And if you look at the MPs for ODM and NASA, they are very forceful and strong, and they might also chase this gentleman away from the platform. So this is a game that needs to be played with a lot of seriousness.
But also looking at it critically, Mr. Julius, maybe this might take time because if we have to amend the Constitution, then we have to go, maybe it will take time and maybe it will take 2-3 years time. Or what is your take? Do we see a position being created immediately and having the Prime Minister maybe within the same year?
Not really. We cannot have the minister tomorrow. All what we are going to have is we are going to have an informal arrangement between the President and the former the Prime Minister on how he's going to work with the government. And it's not going to be one. If we have to have that position, we have to create a budget for that position. Sure. Yet we are within another budget. We have already done supplementary budget. Unless now we say that the money that Raila Omolo Odinga will be enjoying will be coming from the pocket of the President, or you'll be paying from State House. Having have cut other costs so that's to accommodate him. There's so much to be done to accommodate that office of the Prime Minister, including the constitutional amendment.
But that now connects me to the current economic situation in the country, where we are talking about the deficit in terms of revenue. But even before we talk about the revenue, do you feel like the country now has structures in place at present to accommodate opposition? NASA core principles, so to speak.
We don't have structures to accommodate them. What they can have is an arrangement or agreement. They dialogue and decide on how are we going to partner with the way forward to move this country. You know what they are talking about? They are talking about historical justice. They are talking about inclusivity. They are talking about corruption. They are talking about healing the nation. Do these things require an office?
Of course they do.
Do they require an office really? There are those things we call attitudes. And these overtones now must come up with a specific developed opinion. We must think that we are one as a nation. And we have to have a team and an institution that is preparing that, so that now we can move as one as a country, because this country used to be so divided.
Now, the government has indicated a major budgetary deficit, which may call for cutting of resources both to the national and the county governments. Do we see a tussle or a tug of war between now the counties and the national government in terms of fighting for resources?
One difficult thing is the government can't be broke. There sometimes the Minister of Finance may use some terms for political reasons. We have Euro board. It is still intact. It can be used to run the country. At the same time, you realize that if the country is broke, we have various ways of raising finances. And we can also raise finances within ourselves. You realize during the term of Kibaki and Raila, we raised finances within ourselves, and we were able to generate a lot of income to a point that we had excess. This still can happen. And also at the same time, if they have to cut cost if they have to cut the allocation to the county governments, there need to be serious talks and serious deliberations on how much should be cut, what should be cut, and how it should be cut, and when.
Now, talking about this and the entire issues of austerity measures, do you feel the governors or the county bosses are going to take this lightly?
The biggest problem with our governors is a misconception that they can work independently without the national government. We need to create serious interface on how the county government and the national government works together. I would not want to feel whereby we have a governor coming in and saying, now this is my government. Because every institution has a perpetual continuity. It is not like now, for example, in Meru, Governor Munya leaves, and then Kiraito comes and says, this is my government. This government needs to continue, because they have a perpetual continuity. We don't need to have deficit because a new person has come. For example, we are here today with you. It doesn't mean that if you are not there or I'm not there, that is the end of this show. This show should continue whether we are there or we are not there.
Exactly.
So the governors should not take the responsibility of running the counties as their own.
As their own businesses.
As their own businesses. And forget what the other governors have done or what the national government is doing.
Let's address ourselves to the issues of drought in the country, because it has become a major concern. We've seen the National Cereals and Produce Board suspend purchase of maize from local farmers. As that happens, we've seen that the government has inked a deal to buy 6.6 million bags of maize from the Uganda grain reserve. Are we quoting some scandal here? Who is fooling who in terms of, do we have enough food in the country, Bwana Julius?
We have enough food. We produce enough food. This one passes me a lot when I see how the government mismanages our produce. The biggest problem we are having in our country is the issue of enforcement, because we have serious cartels that would want to make money at every expense. Like now, the National Cereals and Produce Board refuses to buy maize from the farmers, and the government imports maize from Uganda. Is it by...
It's weird.
It's weird. Where are we? Are we still fighting for food security under our Agenda 4? This now passes many of us.
Is this going to be realized?
Yes.
If this is how we begin it?
Yeah. If we are going to work like this, are we going to realize that? What I was thinking should be done is to look at this farmer, make the inputs for producing maize cheaper and other products cheaper. Then provide system and procedures on how to store this maize, and then distribute this maize evenly.
Yes, now let's also talk about a related issue, which is the issue of environment. And the government has, gazetted an extra 170 water towers, to enlighten people, the Kenyans, on the need to take care of environment. But looking at the communities living within the forest belt, this feel it all appear complacent because they feel as if they have already attained the 10% forest cover. What needs to be done to inculcate the values of planting trees within those regions?
Value system. We need to create a serious value system of those countries. And tell ourselves now, kama vile Moi alikuwa anasema, kata moja, panda mbili.
That law has been there, but
where did that slogan go? The people have a very bad perception of cutting trees. And let me tell you, the people who cut trees are not those people who live in those areas. It is the business people. They move there, they cut trees on commercial basis, and they destroy the forests. We need to have serious enforcement officers and leaders. We need people who are serious. For example, if we can have Matiang'i in that ministry, although I'm finding also Tobiko working out very seriously, we need to have a serious person on that line.
Let's touch slightly on an issue about health. And we've seen Nyali MP and former KTN journalist Mohammed Ali has sponsored a motion to ensure that the 47 counties have referral hospitals. Do you feel like this kind of a motion will see the light of the day?
No. We are already in crisis, on financial crisis. Where do we get this capital expenditure to put these hospitals? What we need to do is to improve our F5 hospitals. Those county hospitals to be improved. You can see the problems that we are getting in the referral hospital called Kenya National. Our referral hospital in Nairobi. We are having enough problems. So we need to sort out that one first. But what we need to do first is to raise funds and improve the hospitals that we are having at the local level.
By and large, Mr. Mushono, because we have to end this because of time, the importance is, this conversation was all about the handshake and the truce between President Uhuru and Raila Odinga. Do you feel like this is going to be a panacea for, or a healing process against the ethnic polarization that we've been having in the country as we wind up?
It is likely to heal. And if you look at the current political environment, you realize there is some peace. And like now, if it is the standard railway gauge, it could not pass to Kisumu if these people are not communicating. And you see, if it is Narok, there was still a problem. So this handshake is a very important ingredient to our economic development. The social and economic integration in our country is going to improve. And that's once it improves, then what happens? We are going to have economic development.
So we are moving in the right direction as a country?
If I said, and I want to repeat as I close, if Raila and Uhuru are honest, this is a very sweet direction. It's a very good direction. If Raila, we have seen betrayal. We have seen dishonesty. Politics about positioning ourselves. We don't know exactly what is in their mind until we see the MOU, which we have not seen. But what they have done today, with that handshake, it's a very, very important handshake to this country.
Shukran Bwana Mushono. Tumeshukuru sana kwa wakati wako. All right, we come to the end of the show. That was Mr. Julius Munene Mushono, who is our very own political analyst and research scholar. We come to the end of the show. Today we've heard him tell it like it is. Till next time, my name is NJOROGE Kaburo, and it's a goodbye, good luck, and God bless you.